Does Joe Biden survive this? I mean, the concern is that no matter how much, Tina, the White House says that, look, he's not going to stand down, he stays on, I feel like the narrative has now run.
The momentum behind the idea that Biden should step down to make way for another candidate is accelerating, and it's accelerating fast and faster than the White House can control the narrative. I mean, I think the corollary here is to think about crisis comms for a company. You can't spin this. It isn't a moment. Aging is a process which is not reversible as far as anybody knows. They've got a couple of interviews coming up. We had the meeting with governors yesterday where Vice President Harris joined. And then tomorrow, the interview with George Stephanopoulos is going to be very closely watched. But I keep seeing people in the Democrat camp talking about Biden needs to step up, he needs to reassure. I sort of think that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
Do you agree, John?
Yes, he can't get younger. That's the problem. Sometimes when politicians get into really serious trouble, really lose the narrative in the way that Biden has in the last week, there is something they can do about it. I don't think there is in the case of Joe Biden, even if he is much better, makes a better case for himself the next couple of times he appears in public. Again, all of us who are of voting age know what aging is like from people we know, if not for ourselves. It involves bad days and good days. The problem is, if you are capable of having as bad a day as he had in the debates, you probably shouldn't be the president for the next 5 years. I don't think that's surmountable, and I think eventually, yes, one way or another, he probably is going to stand down.
So, John, people in the Democrat Party say, look, he's the only one that can win against Trump. I don't know whether that's changed. And they've also said it's almost impossible to have someone else running. Is that also not true?
I don't think that's true. I mean, the fact that you addressed it to John. There are norms, there are customs, there are things that never happened before. I think it's time to throw out the playbook.
Yeah, I think one of the key points to address Francine's point there is that one of the critical things about the polls at the moment is that they are showing other candidates doing better against Trump than Biden does, including, and this is why there is such a bubble of interest in Kamala Harris again, Kamala Harris is actually outperforming some of the more interesting governors who people are talking about as candidates. That's a very serious issue which knocks one of the other big supports for Biden's candidacy.
It's also important because it makes it easier for the hardcore Team Biden to contemplate.
Yes.
If Kamala stays on the ticket, right, having a clean slate, I think, is inconceivable, but it changes the dynamics.
Tina, first of all, who convinces Joe Biden that he needs to step down? Only his wife? I keep on hearing this from many parts.
I feel a little sorry for Jill Biden in that she's sort of being turned into Lady Macbeth or Yoko Ono or somebody in terms of the overriding narrative. She's obviously most important. If you have a bunch of senators, he was a lion of the Senate, spent however many decades in the Senate, go to him and point out there's a fascinating piece by Nate Silver in today's New York Times. There are 5 swing states where there is a defending Democratic senator running. There have been something like 45 polls, and the senator candidate has done better than Biden in every single one of those polls. He is plainly, blatantly running behind another Democrat in those states. I think that is the kind of thing, given how much he cares about the Senate, that might sway him. But
Democrats have to decide if they want to win. I think, I mean, I'm maybe oversimplifying.
But who's Democrats? There's not one person that says, Mr. President, now's time.
No, but there's evidence. And the more we see these kinds of simulations with different tickets, I think that's going to be persuasive. I mean, I was told by one of my clients that this was heretical stance to take. But I think it's just what the race needs.
So what happens next? I mean, again, there's conventions in case this happens, but we've never tested it.
Signposts. Always look at the signposts. I'm highlighting the fact that the NATO summit will take place in Washington in 2 weeks' time. That means Biden will be on the world stage, but surrounded by U.S. allies. That would be an opportune moment to have conversations with U.S. allies. Democratic National Convention, mid-August. This needs to happen soon, however, if it's going to happen. And I think if it doesn't happen, Democrats lose.
Do you think it happens even earlier?
I think it could, although having heard Tina's suggestion about the NATO summit, I think that does make quite a bit of sense. You could also bring Kamala rather more forward than you usually do to meet the other dignitaries and get the kind of advantage that you get from hobnobbing with world leaders in public, which some politicians. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to mention Britain.
I think you can say the word UK.
I didn't say that. Yeah, I did not say that. I said nothing about that. In general, most good politicians think it's a good idea to appear with world leaders in the run-up to a big election. So it could be a coming-out party for Kamala as well as a big farewell occasion for.
Yeah. So I've been told until like 2 weeks ago that the vice president almost had no chance of being elected. Why the sudden change?
Her ratings are up. Listen, I mean, her stock is literally.
But compared to Biden, not compared to Trump.
Compared to Biden, can she beat Trump? Again, we need to see some polling simulations. Usually, you know, if she's elevated to the presidential candidate, a VP candidate normally doesn't move the needle. In this case, I think it would. We've never been there before. What I don't see, by the way, is 2 Californians on the ticket. Much as I am a proud native Californian, you're not going to see Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris on one ticket. You've got to have, I think, a Midwesterner. But again, we are ahead of the political process, and markets, as ever, are way ahead of the political process.